Hello pilots, welcome back to video 2 in our ProFly OV-10 build, and this video is going to be installing your servos. So everything I have in front of me are the tools you're going to need to do this, to accomplish this task. And again, as far as the book goes, the first 3 steps in the manual for the OV-10 are installing all of your aileron hinges, which we did in video 1, servos, and then control horns and linkages for the main wings, and then the second step is doing it all for the rudder. Then for the elevator, I'm breaking this down a little differently. I did all the hinges for all my parts after you saw in the first video. Now I'm going to do all the servos, but I'm only going to do one on this video to keep the length short, but you're going to repeat that process 7 times or 6 more times because there are 7 servos needed with the OV-10. You have 2 for your ailerons, 2 for your flaps, 2 for your rudders, and 1 for your elevator. And then the third video is probably going to be me installing all the horns and linkages in the aircraft. Now, the only thing I'm missing in this video is my servo extension, so I'm not going to finish the servo as far as threading it through, but that's something that's easily done, and we'll talk about when we get to that point. But real quick, I did want to show you every single hatch, servo hatch, on the OV-10. Obviously comes with a little bit of masking tape to hold it in, but when you open them up, you'll see it already has the shelf that's going to fit your servo perfectly. Inside, everywhere, you can see they glued down a little piece of string that you're able to grab at the end where they want it here. So in here, they have it glued down right to the bottom. They do it on the main wing as well. So that's going to be when it is time to have your servo extensions, because obviously the servos I'm using, the leads aren't long enough to get all the way out the main wing into the fuselage, etc., to where my receiver is going to go. But that's to help you thread it through that first time. So I left that there as such. Now I'll show you, I had already done one. So I have it here. I did not screw it down, but basically that's all you're doing, guys. It's not hard at all. It's about 5 steps for installing the servo in the manual, so it's pretty basic, pretty simple. So let's get started. All right, guys, so step 1 is going to be installing the rubber grommets and brass eyelets. They will come with the servos that provided, at least the servos we recommend, which we think you should be using, these high-tech HS85BBs. You can see them right here, the 2 rubber grommets. All you have to do is press them into the 2 holes where you would screw in or mount your servo. You push those in, and then you drop the brass eyelet through, and when you do that for both sides, that is step 1 of installing a servo. Now, moving on to step 2, you want to use your X-Acto knife because you have to remove some of the covering from the pre-cut areas in the tray that the servo is going to sit on. So you see here, this is going to give you access to this position. It's going to give you access to the arm for the servo. So you cut that out as nicely as you can. And then also, you'll see on the back of the servo tray, the 4 holes are already pre-drilled on the tray. And then what I like to do is quickly lay the tray back on top where it should go, and then pre-drill through the wood so that'll be ready to accept your screws later on. So now whenever you're working with servos, obviously you should be centering your servos beforehand. So I have the GT Power servo tester here and an Admiral 1002S, which powers it. I'm going to plug my servo in. I'm going to remove the horn that this servo happened to come with, the 4-pronged one, and I'm going to go to the 2-pronged 2-arm horn. I'm going to place that on. Don't push it down all the way because we just want to make sure the servo's centered. So as you can see here, I put it in line mode. It's a digital servo. Now we're centered. Now I can press that horn on, and I'm going to screw it in with the screw that I initially took out to remove it. So now that you have that done, you basically have a centered servo, and now it's just as easily as mounting it to the servo tray. So you can see here, it's going to fit beautifully through. What I do is line it up dead center as I can, place my pin vise to make a little mark through each side, then get rid of the servo and just drill out those holes entirely, because at least with these high-tech servos, the 2 mounting screws provided by them are going to drive right through that entire tray. So once you have that, now put the servo back in the tray, use those 2 provided screws, and at this point you have a virtually completed servo. It easily fits into the slot. This one anyway was for the elevator. So I showed you how to do 1. Now you're going to have to repeat this process 6 more times for your 2 ailerons, your 2 flaps, your 2 rudders, and obviously this elevator. All right, guys, quick addendum to video 2. When I finished it the first time, I didn't have servo leads, so I couldn't actually finish off the servo installation. But now I got all my servo leads, just a bunch of different ones that we carry in all different various sizes, and I found a couple sizes that are gonna work, and I'm just gonna do it for one servo, but it's gonna be the same again for everything. Remember, as I had said, inside the pocket, you will see a piece of string attached there. That's to help you manipulate the wire through the wing to the other side. And then once you have that done and you know it's all plugged in and working, then you can just screw in your servo plates and have it mounted fully. So let's just do that quickly now. So again, I went with, so I want to make sure, obviously coming out of the wing, this is going to go right into the fuselage. So between the servo lead I'm going to have coming out and then the Y lead that I'm going to eventually Y the 2 ailerons together go into the receiver, I should have more than enough slack. I went with, I believe it's the 500 millimeter for the aileron. That's going to give me more than enough that's hanging out of the, of the wing. And I went with, I believe, a 300 millimeter for the flap, and they both end up being about even when they come out. But let's do this now real quick. So connect your servo connections here, and I like to tape them together. Again, remember, yellow to yellow. Check your polarity so that it's correct, and that just helps in case you tug on anything. You don't want these connectors to fall apart inside the wing. So I tape those closed. Then you're going to see there's a little string inside for the aileron, the flap, and the rudders, and the elevator. There's a little string, it's tack glued into the wing, and that's to help you snake your connections through the ribs. So you just pull that out, tie it off, slide it through, and when you get to the other side where you're gonna finish up, I like to just label my connectors. So I'm just gonna put an F for flaps, A for aileron, of course elevator, rudder gonna be the same, just so I know later on down this build when I go to put it together which is which. Now that's basically, now that's snaked through. We're all good. Now you're gonna go to your kit, and you will see these screws are the ones that screw in the servo covers. There are 2 sets of these screws inside the box. One baggie will have 16 of them, and that is for all your wings. So you obviously need 4 for each servo cover. So 2 aileron is 8, and 2 flaps are 8. So that's 16 screws, and then you get 12 in the other baggie, and that's going to be for your 2 rudders and your 1 elevator servo. So it doesn't matter; they're the exact same screws, and you should obviously have. What does that make? 16 plus 12, 28 screws come in the kit to do this part. So just use your screws. Now you've already seen we reamed out the hole already. We pre-drilled it, so it's as simple as just screwing it in. Now you're gonna do that for each one, and that will, so you're gonna do that for each one, and then you're gonna attach your control horn, and that'll do it for this video, guys. On to video number 3.